Good afternoon. Now then, today what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at one specific type of protectionism, this tariffs. Okay, now last lesson we spoke a little bit, you might have seen it on a different video. We looked at the reasons for protectionism. Okay, so why might a country wish to protect their domestic economy? So we've got things like protecting infant industries or geriatric industries in decline. We've got the idea that you might be retaliating against another country that is putting protectionist measures on your products. You might be looking to gain a little bit of extra tax revenue, maybe to spend it on some public services or something like that. So you get extra tax revenue if you place a tariff on imported goods. You might be trying to maintain national security, where you're looking after certain industries because you know they might be strategic when it comes to defending yourself in the future or taking care of your sovereignty, like agriculture, defense industries, the steel industry, maybe an airline or two, maybe energy generation. So you've got all these strategic industries you might want to protect. What else? You've got all sorts of reasons for looking at, or the most obvious one, protect jobs. Make sure that the workers in your country are still being employed by businesses in your country. It also helps to prevent dumping when other countries are trying to make sure that you are buying their products at a super cheap rate, and they're going to knock your businesses out of the market. So there's all sorts of reasons for using protectionism, and this is one particular technique that most governments look at. Now, basically what we're talking about here is that a tax on imports is a really simple definition of tariffs, right? So all you're doing is, when you get to the border, you're saying, hang on a second, yes, you can sell your products in my country, but there will be a tax on those products, one which is not paid by the domestic suppliers. Okay, now let's take a look at this. This diagram shows a free market, nothing going on here. We've got domestic supply, that's the people within a country, that are the firms in a country that are producing that good or service. Now, you've also got the consumers, the people that are willing and able to buy those products. Okay, and you can see the people that are willing and able to buy those products at that price. Domestic suppliers are willing and able to produce at this price. And we can see as the price goes up and down, you've got more domestic suppliers willing and able to produce, and you've got less consumers willing and able to buy the product at a higher price. You should by now understand the relationship between those two concepts. And this, of course, creates an equilibrium point in the market right here in the middle, right? So this will be the quantity that the market produces. This will be the price that consumers will pay, and it will also be the revenue that producers receive per unit of output. Now, what we do need to do is need to think about what's going to happen if we allow imports in this situation. And what happens is we get all the people from around the world that are willing and able to produce this good, they can produce it. So we get what's called world supply. We're going to show that here. Boom. World supply. And that is our world price right there. Now, you'll notice two things about this. In most situations, the world price will be below the domestic supplier's price. Okay, so you can see this equilibrium price is higher than the price offered by the world. That's because the world market is much bigger. It can be more efficient. The countries that specialize the most in those products will be able to produce them at a lower price than your home market. Okay, that's not always the case, but in the majority of cases it is. Now, look what happens here. When we introduce this world supply, the second thing about the world supply is it's perfectly elastic. Okay, it's flat. And the reason it's flat is because individual suppliers cannot influence the world market price. The world market price is set mainly in commodity markets because the scale of the market means that not one individual supplier will set the market price for the world. Okay, there are some exceptions to this rule, but generally that's a good rule of thumb. Okay, so what we're suggesting is that the market price for the world is below the domestic price and it's perfectly elastic. Now look what happens. So in this scenario, we've got the domestic suppliers will produce from here to here. Let's call that Q1. Okay, and you can see that these domestic suppliers will be willing and able to produce, and they'll produce all the way up to there, all the way up to this point. Although, what happens now is that the world market takes over, and the world market will produce the rest of the goods that are being demanded by the consumers. So we've got two elements. We've got domestic supply to here, and then we've got imported goods to there. So the difference between Q1 and Q2, that will be the number of imports into the economy. Now, the government looks at this scenario and says, we want to protect our domestic industry. What can we do? Well, it's a very simple and effective technique. They add a tariff. That tariff is simply shifting that world supply up, and we have world supply plus tariff. And what has happened here? Look, we can see what's happened here. Now there's been a change. So there's been a movement along this line here, and we're now saying, hang on a second, we've got new domestic supply, Q3. So domestic suppliers are now producing more in the market. Okay, inefficient domestic suppliers, we might add, but we'll come to that a bit later. And we have a reduction in demand. And of course, you can see the price has been hiked up a little bit there. Okay, we can see what's happened here. We've got now PW plus tariff. So the price has gone up. Domestic supply has gone up from Q1 to Q3. The demand for the goods, whatever it may be, has fallen from Q2 to Q4. And the amount of imports has shrunk. It's shrunk down. It used to be Q1 to Q2. Now it is only Q3 to Q4. So the amount of imports into the country has shrunk down as well. Okay. Now there's a few other things we need to consider, but let's just leave it at this for today. What we've got in the middle, we've got tariff revenue. Nice. A little bit of extra tariff money going to the government. They can spend that on whatever they want. They could subsidise something. They could spend it on public services. They could do something with it. Okay? But they get that little bit of tariff revenue, gives them a little bump. Next, they've got this idea of dead weight loss. Okay? Welfare, dead weight loss. It's really inefficient. You are stopping efficient suppliers from producing and selling the good because you're protecting inefficient domestic suppliers. That is not good. That's inefficient. That's that little triangle there. Also, we are forcing our consumers to pay a higher price when they really don't want to. So this is our little bit of, like, we lose this consumer surplus here. Okay, that's really naughty. That shouldn't be the case. So those two little triangles there, that's what we can call a dead weight loss. Okay, we're being inefficient in that scenario. Okay, it is a good technique for reducing the size of the imports in your economy. It can help with your current account balance. It can help with you if you want to raise revenue. It can help you to protect jobs. It can do all sorts of things. It's dangerous because it can create retaliation from other economies. We've seen that with Donald Trump and China, right? They're going backwards and forwards, and they will do in 24 and 25 and 26 likely. And that's about it. But let's think about this. Do you impose a tariff or not? That is the question you've got to ask yourselves. All right, guys, that's enough for today. See you later. Bye.